Hi, this is Shana Galen. I am back again, and today Sparky and here's Sparky. She tends to sleep through all my readings, but I try not to take offense at that, so I'm going to let her get back to her nap. Are going to do a reading of my latest release with Grace Burrows, Carolyn Jewell, and Miranda Neville titled Dancing in the Duke's Arms. And I actually do not have a copy of Dancing in the Duke's Arms, so I'm going to have to read it on this newfangled device called a Kindle. And this is the very beginning of my story, which is titled Waiting for a Duke Like You. And in my story, the Duke of Windover is an extremely handsome man. He's so handsome, in fact, that ladies tend to fall at his feet in dead faints. And so he is kind of trying to avoid these ladies at a house party for the Duke of Sedgemoor, that the Duke of Sedgemoor is hosting. And so here's from the beginning, almost the beginning of my novella. The next morning came too early, and despite his tacit agreement with Sedgemoor to act the dutiful guest, he was late for the start of the scavenger hunt. By the time he made it to the breakfast room, the other guests had already departed, all but a Miss McHugh. He relaxed when he saw her. She had not fainted at his feet upon meeting him the day before. The same could not be said of the other ladies at the party, a Miss Frobisher and a Miss Pendleton. Miss McHugh, however, had not seemed particularly impressed by him, but then he'd seen her gaze slide to the Duke of Hardcastle one too many times. Best he left Miss McHugh to find her own amusements this morning. He exchanged pleasantries with her, then made his way to the drawing-room to ask after the rest of the party. The butler informed him they'd already embarked on the scavenger hunt and handed him a sheet of foolscap on which had been listed a number of items he was to acquire. They have not been gone long, your grace, the butler said. I am certain you will have no trouble catching up to one party or another and joining their ranks. But that was the trick, Nathan decided. If he accidentally encountered the Frobisher Pendleton party, he'd be stuck catching feigning ladies all morning and afternoon. He scanned the first items listed on the paper. A horseshoe, a feather, a pink rose, a smooth round stone for skipping. The list went on and on. He could find these items on his own, find them and complete the scavenger hunt without assistance or fainting ladies. He'd start with a skipping stone. It was in the middle of the list, and he imagined the teams would either begin with the first or last item and work from there. He remembered crossing a small stone bridge upon arriving the day before. Several ducks had been swimming in a pretty little lake. He'd start there in his search for the stone. While everyone else swarmed the stables or gardens, he'd have a nice walk by the water. Nathan started in the direction of the pond, crossing the lush green lawn quickly. Sedgemoor's estate was well tended. As a man of property himself, Nathan noticed the details. The manicured flower beds, the way the land sloped away from the house to aid in drainage, the gravel paths that were free of weeds. He would have liked to see some of the surrounding land and meet a handful of Sedgemoor's tenants, but that would have to wait until he played dutiful guest a few more days. Sedgemoor had mentioned archery as an activity, Nathan remembered as he neared the lake. God in heaven, anything but archery. At the edge of the water, he scanned the stones on the sandy bank. Several were quite smooth, but they were too round to skip well. He needed a flat and oval stone. He followed the edge of the water, head down, eyes narrowed for any sign of the perfect skipping stone. A duck quacked, and he looked out at the water, glinting in the morning sun. A drake, his mate, and a line of ducklings swam in the middle of the water, looking quite aimless. Doubtless the ducks were hunting insects for breakfast. He watched them for a moment, but when he might have gone back to his search for skipping stones, his attention caught and held on a flutter of something brown near the base of the gray stone bridge. It looked like a clump of brown cloth. A coat a groundskeeper had set aside and forgotten? He almost returned to his quest for the skipping stone, but something made him stare just a little longer. The coat was not empty. Someone was inside it. Windover stuffed the sheet of foolscap into his coat pocket and walked rapidly toward the bridge. His long-legged gait ate up the distance quickly, and the indistinct shape became clearer. It was a body lying on its side under the shade of the bridge. As he neared the form, he made out the mud caked on the coat and the matted hair falling over the person's face. Probably a vagrant who'd fallen asleep there the night before. At least Windover hoped the man was only sleeping. The last thing the Duchess of Sedgemoor needed was a dead body to put a damper on her house party. "Excuse me," he said as he walked the last few steps. "Are you hurt?" The body didn't move. The wind ruffled the brown material again, but now Windover all but stumbled. It wasn't a coat whipping in the breeze. Those were skirts. A girl. And that's the end of Waiting for a Duke Like You from Dancing in the Duke's Arms. And if you want to read more, check it out. So Sparky and I are saying goodbye for now, and we'll see you later.